Minute ago that I had a full-on breakdown yesterday, which I feel like everybody needs to cry a little bit, right? You know, yahoos or whatever.
Aliens among us, and that they were here, they would show up, and then that turned into what Holly just said. This is awful. Who does that? We can't accept them because they're ugly. Gets even a little bit more weird.
Hey everyone, welcome to Born Brazen. We're your hosts, Holly and Jules, and on this podcast, we talk about documentaries and our thoughts as to what happened. If you're new here, get comfortable as we navigate through these wild cases. If you've been here before, welcome back. So this week, I feel like we should give a little bit of an update because it's been crazy. I was just telling Jules a minute ago that I had a full-on breakdown yesterday, which I feel like everybody needs to cry a little bit, right? Maybe.
Sometimes it's good. It's healing.
Yeah, it's healing. So that's been the crazy life of Holly, which it's, to sum it up, well, what did we say, Jules? Like a shit show? Like, yeah, we're just running the
We're
shit
all on
show.
a struggle bus. We're all struggling.
Yeah, as you can tell by the face and the hair and the whole 9 yards. Yeah. So, anywho, let's get into today's episode.
Hey, Holly.
Hey.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Boo.
Boo-hoo.
Don't cry. It's just a joke.
I actually knew that one was coming. I was like, oh, I know this one. Boo-hoo. I almost feel like I don't want to cry. I did that yesterday.
Yeah, so did I. Apparently we were crying at the same time. So
and had no idea.
Yeah.
That we're that in sync.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Awesome. So last week we wrapped up the murder of Rachel Nickel. Still like trying to process that. That was a crazy story. Very sad. So this week we are going to talk about not a Netflix show. This one is going to be on HBO. But you can also get it through Plex, which I don't know if anybody's ever heard of Plex, but Plex is pretty amazing. Julie and Mike, Julie's husband, introduced me to it. How long ago?
Several years.
Yeah, several years ago. And it has
We've
been
been using it forever. I mean, it's maybe partially illegal, but the app itself exists and is a thing. And they have like live TV and stuff on there. It's kind of like using, I think it's kind of like a Tubi, or like, there's all different things you can do with it because you can watch their stuff, but then, the other side of it is our server, and you join as a friend, and then you have all the content that we have to watch. So when you don't want to watch commercials or don't have HBO Max, you tell my husband, magically, go find this show and put it in Plex. And there it is.
It's kind of like recording at a movie theater.
Kind of. Well, we don't watch stuff like that. Like,
no.
Our stuff doesn't look like that. Sometimes it does.
Our shit's high quality, okay? Okay, sorry, another tangent. There might be a lot of those today, so just bear with us. So on HBO, it's called Bring Me the Beauties. This episode today is only going to talk about chapter 1. It's a 3-part series that you can find on there. After, we didn't figure out it. We didn't know if we wanted to do like one long episode or what have you. So we're like, maybe we'll cut it up. But I think the first episode, I don't know about you, Jules, it had a lot.
It did. The first episode is a lot of like backstory and where this guy came from. I guess kind of both of them, like where they came from, maybe, sort of, and how they met, I guess, technically.
Yeah.
Sorry if you can hear my dogs. Something's
Life,
going on and they're downstairs.
life,
And I have 4 crazy dogs.
too many. Okay. So it starts off um, talking about John Hoyt, who is worth apparently millions of dollars. Jules, do you want to give a little bit of a backstory on John?
I'm looking through my notes here. I'm going to be a little bit all over the place too, I'm sure, because I have all these thoughts that I write down and I'm like, what? So Hoyt, this starts off as he's 16
Mhm.
and they live, well, he vacations in Nantucket.
Yes, which
So
is in Massachusetts.
if you know anything about Nantucket or the area, it's very rich. Like you have to have money to be there and to hang out there.
Yes, I believe Nantucket is on the shore of
Yeah.
Massachusetts.
Mhm.
I never went there because
Yeah, I didn't either.
it's very upscale. There are some good restaurants out there though.
Yeah. Very good seafood.
Mhm.
Um, so he had a big family, which it kind of talks about them periodically throughout the show. It talks about his family because the family was so big and just how all this progresses and how it kind of affected his family too.
Yeah,
Um,
because he had mom
he was very
issues.
close with them at the time.
Yeah, and he had some huge mommy issues, which, you know, we've talked about that a million times. Like, that's always a recipe for disaster for the most part. And they were like super strict on him. So, sorry, cut you off, Jules.
Yeah, no, you're good. Because I also had that written down like as something to keep in mind about his relationship with his mom because it discusses that too as you go and you kind of learn some more about how he treated his mom like because of this and like how just in case we haven't used the word yet, this is not a show about murder. So
No,
this one is totally different. This is about a cult type story.
which we all
So
love a cult.
yes,
Yeah.
I love a good cult story. So I was very intrigued by this one because um to me this one was a lot different than a lot of the other cult stuff that I've learned about and like taken the time to investigate and just watch like all the stuff that's out there um because usually in cults you hear about either women and children like being treated badly or you know it could just go in a totally different direction. This one was more like the oddball cult. Like, I mean, as you can tell from the title, Bring Me the Beauties, he basically runs into this guy on the beach, sees like this guy sees him, this guy named Frederick sees Hoyt on the beach and is just intrigued, like, oh, he's a good looking dude. And I hang out with good looking people. So he kind of befriends him. And that's kind of how it starts when he's 16. He's on at a vacation in Nantucket with his family. They're hanging out on the beach, doing all the normal Nantucket things. Um, and all these people are, you know, to do wealthy and, you know, hanging out for the summer.
Right.
And he kind of just runs into him and when he meets him, he comes off as a socialite from New York. And he only wants to hang out with the pretty people.
Yeah. So when we're talking about Frederick, so he is like the leader of this.
Mm-hmm.
It's Frederick von Mears.
But Meyer is how you pronounce it. Frederick.
Meyer.
So to interject a little, I had to investigate and figure some things out because I had names going through my head and I wasn't sure if they were the same or not. So his name was Frederick von Meyer. I believe if I wrote it down right, it was like MEIR something. But anyway, or my
M-I-E-R-R Myers.
Myers. Okay, so Myers, yes. So I was confused and wanted to make sure that this was not the same company as that I asked you about because I asked you about it. But it is not
Yeah,
the same.
it's in the
There is a
mall.
department store that has a
Yeah.
very similar name. And then so my brain went to this guy being the type of guy that he is with the beautiful people and like the way he discusses like how he wants them to dress or whatever. I was like, well, maybe he had something to do with that. But it is not the same person, just
No,
an FYI. Because my brain
no,
did go there as I was watching it. I was like, wait, maybe he started this department store as part of his thing. And maybe that's how he like made some of his money. But no, do not confuse them two. They're two totally different things because I had to look them up and they're all spelled completely different. So
no,
um
he's just an arrogant cult leader. That's all.
yeah. And a very weird dude too. Looked
Yeah.
weird.
So, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. He just
Yeah.
had a he just looked weird. He looks like one of those people that just like constantly gets like Botox and
Well, that's what I was thinking. Like, he has really high cheekbones. Like, really, he looks
like
like a
chiseled
plastic
jaw.
face. Yeah, he's got way too much Botox. And look, if you have Botox, like, more power to you. I too do a facial routine to maybe anti-age a little bit. But
Not
be
medically.
careful.
Like I'm not a medically fix my face.
No, 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 no. I'm like a lotions and serum kind of girl. Um, but yeah, I mean, if you're gonna get Botox, Botox responsibly. I think it's a good way to put it. But as I was going through this episode and listening to all of the backstory and the now story and all of that, it really reminded me of like Scientology and Charles Manson and Keep Sweet, Pray and Obey, I think is what it's called. Because it's very much it's money driven. It's, I need you to believe in me and in my beliefs, because my beliefs are going to save you from the world. And I try to wrap my head around this because to me, looking in, I'm like, how do you start believing that and like get into this atmosphere?
Yeah.
Do you not look back and say, "This is really weird," or look at it and be like, "This is kind of why do I have to learn what you're learning? Like, why do
Yeah.
I have to purchase your it just and I can't speak for that because I've never been in it, obviously. I've never been introduced to that situation, but if you have or if you, have thoughts about it, please let us know in the comments because I'm really curious as to how some people get into that atmosphere.
I think you have to have that type of um
Personality?
yeah, like I think your personality has to be a certain way. I don't want to say like that you're gullible, but it's like that. Like I feel like if you have this certain personality trait, you just kind of sit and listen and like take it all in and be like, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Well, and I think too, it's people
yeah.
who
And
are
I
lost emotionally, like spiritually. I think they're just grasping at something. And
mhm.
this,
And it's acceptance. It's this group of
yes,
people is accepting me for who I am, even though they want me to kind of change a little, like change to be like them, but they're accepting me. I think it's just a big mind game. And
yeah,
because I 100% wrote that down in here when when he's explaining how he met and I'm going to call him Freddie also.
yeah.
So at
That's
the
what they refer to
beginning,
him in the
he says
documentary.
at the beginning that cuz this whole show is Hoyt himself telling the story.
Yes.
So the part that I loved was him at the beginning saying, "When I met Freddie," and then he stops himself and says, "I'm referring to him as Freddie, but his name is Frederick, and I really only do it subconsciously because I have a feeling I know that he wouldn't like it if I called him Freddie."
Yeah.
So he refers to him as Freddie. So I wrote down that when he was introducing Freddie in the episode and explaining who he was, how we met him, um, my immediate brain went to, he came off to me as if like a motivational speaker does.
Mhm.
And so I think that had a lot to do with it, because when, like you had just said about the other cults and stuff, there really wasn't the aspect in this of purchasing anything
Right.
necessarily. Um, he did write a book, but it wasn't like Scientology where you have to like pay all this money and like buy.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
it
yeah.
was basically just a group of them. They all hung out. But Freddie had his idea of who he was, and that's where this story gets crazy. But I feel like, so that's how I feel like he was able to get all these people to join his cult. Essentially, I feel like he basically spoke to them all the time like you would hear a motivational speaker. And I think over time, hearing the things that he had to say and where he came from and why he believed these things that he believed, it just, they were all convinced. And it was, and they didn't have that aspect necessarily of the Scientology stuff of like purchasing all these things. So they weren't seeing that side of it. Like that
Right.
wasn't part of the equation. So they weren't like, okay, because they really all just like legit lived together. Um,
Yeah. But I think I did hear that they had like an allowance. Did they not?
there was, well, they all, because that's the thing, they all still worked. They were still allowed to have their regular jobs. They
Right.
just technically had these, I mean, I'm going to refer to them as rules, but um, it was kind of like guidelines, like of how he thought you should live.
Right.
So they could still come and go. They just had chores to do. And
Yeah.
because they all lived together, which was really weird because they lived together, but it wasn't normal living either. It was like, we live on a cot in the middle of a room, but we all
Yeah.
stay here. It was very odd behavior, but they all went along with it and they all thought it was okay. They all just thought that they were doing the world a better. Like,
Yeah.
because
Well,
we can get into how he was and what he believed and why he was how he was. But I feel like they just all just, I guess, just assumed, well, we're all just trying to make the world a better place. And, but it was just really odd that I felt like I just wanted to scream. So if someone's ugly, they can't be saved by you?
right. Right. Well,
Like,
he was hell of a salesman.
yeah.
So he told people what they wanted to hear. And sorry, guys. And, you know, when you are model type material, I'll say that. So you are very pretty, you're very aware of your looks, you feed off of that.
Hmm.
You're beautiful, those compliments like, man, you could do this, like with that face, you could do this or whatever. And they kind of like they feed off of that. So when you take that situation of, hey, he's a hell of a salesman, and then you send compliments like, because of this, you're going to go so far. Like,
Hmm.
we need you to, correct these things. People are kind of gullible and they're like, oh, yeah, I do need that, and it's like, but do you?
Yeah. Oh, I know what we forgot to talk about, which is kind of important to this story. So in the beginning, we learn that because he's 16 years old at the time,
Mhm.
and he meets Freddie on the beach and
Yes.
kind of befriends him. And it's slowly over time. He's not immediately snatched in by Freddie or anything like that. He behaved like a normal 16-year-old boy for a while, just kind of had Freddie as like a friend. It was
Yeah.
just back there somewhere. He
Yep.
continued with his life a little bit, doing 16, 17-year-old things. He was I believe it was football that he played.
Yes.
And that's kind of this is what was like the catalyst to where we're at now. He, just like a lot of these stories, he hurt himself and was no longer allowed to play.
Yep.
So by the time he was graduating high school and things like that, he knew that the sports thing was out and it wasn't going to be a thing. So he needed to figure out what he was going to do.
Yeah. Hence, like, lost.
So that's where his brain was as this progressed and how this turned into because they talk about, I'm just not sure where and where my notes are, but um once he had to give up football at some point, that's when he started his relationship with Freddie to figure out his life. And because Freddie had met him before, obviously Freddie was only interested in him because he was a beauty.
Mhm.
So that prompted the whole discussion. He's like talking to Freddie, what do I do? And that started that relationship. And Freddie saying, come to New York and we'll get you in modeling because you're good
Yes.
looking. And I think that can be your future instead of football since, you had to give that up.
Yeah. And so another thing, like, that's how he recruited John, but so talking about his character, aside from Freddie's character, aside from an overuse of Botox, um, I thought, and this is where I can't understand how people get into this, is because his whole, like, spiel on this is that the aliens took over his body
Uh-huh.
and told him that he needs to do all of these things. And as a person, you're like, mhm, yeah. The insane asylum is, like, right down the street. If you want to just check yourself in there, because it's just it's kinda like Dancing with the Devil, the TikTok series. Like, God told him he was the prophet, and it's like, man, like, I don't know, the fact that you can get people to follow you over something like that, I feel is
Yeah.
just absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely insane.
So, yeah,
Um,
because we don't learn about Freddie and this whole alien thing for
mhm,
a little bit.
yeah,
Um, but he basically goes and he decides, because this is where what I was saying earlier comes into play. They were allowed to do whatever they wanted. And, he didn't have rules on them like that or anything.
right,
So he decided that he was going to do the modeling thing. And he actually was able to utilize that. And he did go to college. So
yeah,
he went to school. And that's kind of when all of this started with, and I got a really good chuckle out of this because his friends were mad because he wasn't behaving like a typical college student. He was
right,
eating healthy. He wasn't out partying and drinking. And he was, because he cared about himself because his body was his moneymaker because he was modeling to pay for that college.
right.
So I got
And
a good chuckle when his friends were like, you're not even like, like come out, party with us, do this, do that. You know, and he
you're not
was just,
living like a broke college student. Like, what's happening right now?
yeah.
Where's the oodles and noodles and,
Yep.
like, Yahoos or whatever?
So
Yeah,
yeah,
but
I
I
mean,
think
because
Freddie also had something to do with, like, the way he ate too.
yes,
Like,
that was
yeah,
a little bit of the rules was
yes,
him, but of course he did, like you said, he discussed it in a way that it sounded like that's what he should be doing anyway. Like,
yeah,
eat the all natural things, do this, do that. And so he's like Freddie's trying to tell him to do this, but he's not looking at it like it's a cult and he's telling me what to do. He's
yeah,
looking at it like, well, that makes sense anyway. I'm a model
yeah.
and I want to take care of myself.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, think about what we put in our bodies. Like, we should probably do better. But on a side note, it's really expensive to eat healthy.
It is. It is.
Like, for what I can buy to healthy food, I can get, like, a ton more of crap food.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, and so a lot of, they had parties as well. And one thing that stuck out to me that I was like, "Oh," he used to read horoscopes. He would read
Mhm.
horoscopes at these parties. I'm like, "Hey, like, be astrological. That's cool." Um, but that is insane to read horoscopes. Like,
He would like in depth read. Like he needed
yes.
to know your year, like your whole date of birth.
Mhm.
Um, there was a bunch of questions that he asked them. I'm not sure if I
Yeah.
wrote that down, but it was just crazy how he narrowed this down, not just like opening the back of the newspaper am looking for your monthly horoscope. This was like in depth. And because he tried to, his readings were like what you should do next and what job you
Yep.
should have and like all
Yeah.
these weird things. He
So
was just an
kind of,
odd dude.
yeah. So like leading them on what they want. Like you have free choice to do what you want to do,
Mhm.
but you need to eat a certain way and you need to follow my, get my path on where I think you should go. And so I think one of the brainwash part of it is that, he gives it out to be like, oh, you're good. Like you can do what you want to do. It's
Mhm.
just my recommendations that you
Mhm.
should do this.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really a recommendation. It was more like, you need to do this.
Yeah. And at the
Um,
beginning, too, during this time, he's not like full time with Freddie. He's
no,
still trying to balance his college lifestyle, the modeling stuff, and his friends and family throughout college until towards the end. His family didn't like that he changed how he had changed. And which I think is kind of odd too, that like, okay, you can be like, why aren't you partying like a normal college person? But
yeah,
he was also a football player and wanted to make a career out of that before.
yeah,
So caring about his body and how he ate is not far-fetched for me either, from even more in his past.
yeah,
Because you would think that he somewhat did that while he was actually playing too. I
yeah,
mean, and that he was like working out and stuff, like, before a football game and stuff like that. So he basically told his family, like, there's nothing to worry about. I'm fine. Like,
yeah,
literally everything I'm doing is not anything weird. They just,
yeah,
they saw him change and they didn't like that.
right.
So
And so kind of
after
like,
after college is when he officially was like, I'm gonna go be with this group.
yeah. And also similar to like the TikTok dancing for the devil or with the devil.
Mhm.
Also, if you haven't seen that, you should go see
Watch
it
it.
because it is insane.
Yeah, because I
Uh
still like Googling about that now
yeah,
and seeing like what's going on to see if anybody else from that show, anything's changed, because I
yeah,
know that one family for sure was like really hell bent on getting that daughter, if I'm thinking about the same one, because there's multiple, but very hell bent. So I like to kind of every once in a while like look it up again and like just do a little Google deep dive and just see if anything's changed. Like, are they still avoiding their family and in the cult, or did they get out?
yes. So I follow some of them on Instagram, and that girl, I think her name is Melanie. She actually just had a baby, and her parents are super involved, but her
Excellent.
sister is still not.
No.
No, no, which is really sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, so back to like similar to this TikTok thing is, they had chores, they distant themselves from their family,
Mhm.
um,
Which
poor
is
living
typically what happens
conditions.
at the beginning, like, as you go along in a cult. That's the huge one.
Yeah, because if you distance people from their family, you have no outside influence. You
Yeah.
just have what's being in your ear, and
Mhm.
so nobody else is going, "Have you thought about this? This doesn't really sound right."
Yeah.
So that's the first thing they wanna do, like, you know, you don't need to be with your family, they're trying to discourage you, they're not they don't care about your path. So, yeah, yeah. So there is and side note too, so I love Buddha. I just absolutely I wanna get a statue in my house. So it made me really upset to see a Buddha in the background when he was, like, talking. I was like, "You're not even following that religion,
Yeah.
really."
I mean, because what he was not a normal it's not a normal religion. Like, let's just say that. Like, I
Right.
don't even know how to describe what that was.
Yes. I mean, and he labels himself very spiritual.
Yeah.
Um,
Like,
but
he
yeah.
believes in a higher being, but
Mm,
his higher being and what's gonna happen to the world is like, okay.
okay.
Which
Whatever
is
you say, bro.
why I said, like, okay, so if you believe all of this, that's cool and all, but I don't know any god that anyone follows that is discriminatory towards ugly people.
Right. Right. Like,
Like, don't ask them to be in our group
yeah.
and learn something and like let's save their soul. But no, we can't save their soul because they're ugly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you can't sit at the mean girls table. Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Because you're not cute enough. Yeah. Yeah. Ah, that's all. Before we jump back into the episode, we want to tell you about something we've been loving: Glow Protocols. If your skin is looking tired or your hair needs a little extra love, Glow Protocols has face and hair serums designed to help refresh, revive, and bring back that healthy glow. We're all about feeling confident and taking care of ourselves, and these products make it easy to add a little self care to your daily routine. Visit my site at linktree/bornbrazen to shop and get a discount to start your journey. That's linktree/bornbrazen, BORNBRAZEN. Discounts are applied at checkout. Now let's get back to the show. So there was a group of folks that actually spoke out regarding this. Paul Hinton, Kim Long, Russ Myers, Dar Dixon, Alyssa, and I can't pronounce the last name. But they were also in a documentary, and they were also talking about the things that were going on and happening and how, they got out of that situation. Which it's always nice to see a group of people that got out and can talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I thought that was excellent. And of course they told their experiences on what happened and pretty much how awful Freddie is.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was Shaldine, a Shaldine that was, and Julie, I don't, maybe you can explain exactly what that was, because Dean was like the last part of their name. So
Oh, yes. They
John
I know what you're talking about now. They called themselves Chaldeans.
Chaldeans, that's what it was.
Chaldeans. Chaldeans.
Hmm.
And it had
Like 25 to 30 people
yeah,
is
and
what they,
everyone had different nicknames, but like so but you could refer to everyone as the Chaldeans. Like that was like kind of like the group nickname I get. I don't it was weird. But then they each had a name too at some point, like that he would just call them.
yeah.
He was just a very weird dude. I just keep saying that. The guy was just so oddball because like let's get into that, like just how basically how he came to be. He believed that he was a walk-in was the term that he used
Hmm.
for himself and these people because basically anybody that he let into the group he believed were all walk-ins, meaning and he took all this because of a book that he read.
Yes.
um he just basically believed that there was aliens among us and that they were here, they would show up and then like take over your body and that you were an alien living in a human body
I
essentially.
mean, I have my days.
And this came about because of a lady named if I have this correct, Ruth Montgomery.
Yes.
Because later on she actually wrote about Freddie at one point.
Hmm.
So they were all in part of this whole, they believed in being walk-ins and aliens being among us. And just to put this in there, because I went, oh shit, when this all came out, I am a huge Van Halen fan. And yeah, I'm a Sammy girl. But one of my absolute favorite songs from Van Halen is Love Comes Walking In. And learned in this episode that Sammy read his book, and I don't think he ever like fully like believed the concept of aliens coming in necessarily, but the concept of like he kind of went just he took it a different way about aliens coming in, and so there's like a line in the song about aliens, and so I loved that part, but I was like, luckily I know what I know now about him and stuff, so I'm like, okay, like Sammy's not crazy, Sammy's not like this weirdo like in this cult.
Yeah.
But it was a very interesting tidbit there to learn about.
Well, and I thought it was cool too. Like, well, not cool, but he knew Fabio. Like,
Yes. Hoyt knew Fabio because of his modeling career.
yeah.
So it was awesome when all of a sudden it's like Fabio comes up on the screen and you're like, oh shit. Like they're talking to Fabio because
this must be pre-bird in the face though.
But I thought it was cool though. He was very like, he came off very normal, he just cared about Hoyt and, wanted the best for him. Cause not to like give anything away, but like later on you learn that Fabio comes into play some more and it's really cool, but I won't talk about it now. We'll wait till it comes up in the episode, but there is a little bit more about Fabio in one of the later episodes that is he was a pretty stand-up dude, and he was, it was cool, but it was funny to see his little look, it's Fabio.
Yeah, it's Fabio. I saw that and I was like, no way. Awesome. So speaking about that internal values, he did actually get money from that. And there, Julie, remind me, I'm so sorry. There was a fraud that happened.
With the book or with the group?
No, so he was calling the new age a fraud.
Oh, trying to remember what that had to do with. It clearly wasn't a huge thing for me because I don't think I wrote anything down about that.
Yeah, so with that internal values book, right? Like he sold it for money. Mm-hmm. He kept all the money. He called it like a very spiritual book, I guess, spiritual book. And he said, the new age things of people, the way they're thinking is a fraud.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's very ironic that you're calling that a fraud.
Yeah. Yeah, that was weird. I remember parts of that now, and that being like just how he was. It was really weird. And at this point, still, like what I took note of was that Hoyt was still keeping things separate, which for example, Scientology, you can't do that. Like, I mean, as a normal human being, you couldn't really, because you would get in trouble for certain things. Right. But like in this instance, he basically was keeping his modeling and the Eternal Values group separate, and he wasn't like recruiting other people to like join this group. He was keeping everything separate. But this is also when you learned that this is another way, a reason I brought this up earlier, like another way that the group was making money was, for an example, Hoyt was modeling and then taking his money, and a portion would go to Freddie and then a portion he would keep. So he was always giving money to Freddie and he was kind of using it, I guess, the way, maybe the way that you can say we now, like a normal average, like Christian Baptist, like you go to
Yeah.
church and you tithe. So I
Yeah.
think he was kind of equating giving. That's kind of what I felt. I mean, maybe you can chime in if you agree, but like that's how I felt he was handling it. He was kind of like trying to keep everything together, but not together. So that was his like giving back, like to the group and to their religion or, their cult. Like he was
Yeah,
giving him money.
and I think with, like, tithing, right, we hope and believe it goes back into the church.
Uh-huh.
But on this one, it wasn't going back into anywhere except for his pocket.
Yeah. Well, his pocket and the things that he physically owned. Like,
Yes.
so, um, while this is going on, even though whether Hoyt was there or not, depending on where he was anyway, because of modeling, the biggest expense, I guess, and like where a lot of the money was going was this hotel or apartment that they lived in because they all lived in this apartment together.
Yeah.
But like I said, it wasn't like anything huge because they all slept like everyone didn't have a room. There was no privacy in this place.
Right.
So he was, I guess, I'm assuming some of that money was going towards that stuff, like living expenses and maybe food and groceries. I don't know, but it was very odd that all these people just lived together. But
Yeah.
he also, I don't know if it talks about it in this episode. We might learn this later, but there was other places that his money was going. He did own some other property. So I can also assume that, and we also don't know out of this group of however many of them there was, because it kind of changed, like we learned about these people that left. So
Yeah.
the numbers kind of changed over time a little bit, but we also don't know what these other people were doing and how much money they were contributing either.
Yeah.
Because it didn't really talk about that necessarily. It was mostly Hoyt just discussing what he was doing with his money.
Yeah. Yeah, and kinda where it all
Mhm.
started.
Yeah. And he even met a girl at this point.
Yeah.
Well, and she was in for a little bit and then was kind of like, I don't know about this. And the relationship kind of
Fizzled.
didn't go so well.
Yeah. And the other thing I think,
It was quote, he said something about it in Freddie's eyes, it was her, I guess, was it her? It like she's taking you away from the work.
yes.
And the work meaning the way he was supposed to be living to like honor these what was to come
Yes.
in this weird religion and what he thought was going to happen later on. They were
Yeah,
supposed to be preparing.
yeah, so that's kinda how I got, like, Scientology out of
Mhm.
it and, Dancing with the Devil, TikTok, and all of that because it was very similar conditions,
Mhm.
that they were going through. And the slamming, can we talk a minute for the
Yes.
slamming sessions?
Yes. That was my next because I even wrote in my book, what the fuck?
What
After we learn about him giving his money and how he would give, they start watching each other is kind of how this started. And they would like tell on each other or like if they saw something, like it was very odd. Then that
Mhm.
turned into what Holly just said. They would have slamming sessions and literally sit down in a room. I'm like, this is awful. Who does
Yeah,
that?
yeah. Well, and again, like, very similar to Scientology, like, they had that as well, that you had to if you saw something or maybe it was keep sweet, pray, and obey. I think maybe it was that one. If you
But they
saw
would they
something
would tell anything. They would be required, like in Scientology, if you speak to somebody, like say in your family that's not in Scientology, eventually you would get in trouble for that. And you were told that if you witnessed stuff like that, you were supposed to tell the church.
right.
I wouldn't ever want to be in something like that. Like,
Yeah, but I think too, the problem is once you're again, it doesn't, like John had this and then had his modeling career. he had this, and then he had an outside life. And at first, you're like, this isn't bad. This is kind of, what I believe in and my path. But then when you get so far into it, like things like this, slamming sessions and all of that, you don't look at it as like, well, that's kind of weird. You look at it like, because you believe all
Yeah.
these things are real and
Mhm.
happening. And so people
You
are
just
like,
accept.
you just accept it. You're just like, okay. Kind of like, I mean, not kind of, but you go out to a restaurant, you get crappy customer service. You just expect it because that's the what we live in.
Mhm.
So
'Cause anything's possible.
anything's possible. Yeah. So I think that's kind of where that gets into how people can go through that and not think anything is weird about it.
Mhm.
So, um, yeah. So I think, Jules, do you have anything to add before?
No, that was, I think we covered all of the really big, like, holy crap things you learn in that first episode. It's very I mean, obviously, if you haven't watched it, please watch it because it's just he's like I said, he's such a weird dude, and these people just, "Okay, okay."
Yeah. Sounds great. Yeah.
Just wow. Because
Yeah.
I mean, my brain goes to the same things with a lot of cults, you know? They're all very similar, so
Oh, yeah. The
it's just
mechanism is very, very similar. Like I feel like if you were talking to somebody and they're like, yeah, um, we give money there. I don't talk to my parents anymore. Like we all live in this, it's like one of those like, do you know what you're in?
yeah. I think the part though that just baffles me the most that I have the hardest time getting past in cults like these in general, like I touched on before. I find it hard would would find it hard to be involved in a group once I learned that they're not accepting of all.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, maybe it's just because of the way I was raised. I mean, I was raised in church. I still have my beliefs. I don't go to church every Sunday, but I have my beliefs and pray and things like that. And I just have a hard time accepting groups that would get to a point where, you know, don't we can't accept them because they're ugly or well, they don't believe in what we believe, so you are not allowed to talk to them anymore. Like, I mean, because that's not my how I was raised in my religion. I mean,
Right.
you
But
know,
I think too, like the whole phrase, like, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Like,
yeah,
who,
because who's to say that
who's
that
this?
person's ugly?
Right. Like, I mean, I am not model material. Like, I'm not out here thin and tall and, because that's what models are. They're very thin, they're very tall, they have very long legs. But my husband tells me I'm beautiful. So, like, who's to say who's beautiful and who's not? Like, and maybe we'll learn that in another episode. Like, is there a checklist? Is there a criteria? Like, what signifies that you're beautiful and somebody else is not?
Yeah.
So,
So I think that's why I have a hard time with like these groups because to me, you're gonna get more traction if you're accepting of everyone. Like,
yeah. But you
think
gotta
about like,
separate yourself from other cults.
so you want me to join your cult? You best be accepting of everyone.
Yes. So, don't be bringing that partial BS over here. I'll
Mm-mm.
join your cult, but you gotta let everybody join. Equal opportunity cult,
Yes.
okay?
Yes. Yes.
Awesome. So one thing that I want to close us out with is that this started in 1985.
Yes.
Literally the year before I was born.
I was 3.
You're well, so
I was a
just
baby.
just sit on that. Like it went through his senior years. Um which I didn't catch on how old he was to see like how long it's been going on. But the fact that this documentary is just coming out and it
Well,
started
he
in
was 16 when
1985.
you met him. So
Yeah,
16 in what year did you say? 80,
85.
85. So if he was 16, I can't do math. Sorry.
No, no.
But um
Yeah.
yeah, and there's a lot more to
A
this.
lot.
A lot more cuz unlike Holly, I have finished it and it's crazy. So that's why I've been trying not to like I don't want to spoil it.
Your
But
girl is slow. There's been a lot going on. So that's my excuse. And that's what I'm sticking to.
well, for me, I mean, yes, cuz I've been busy too, but the story really like intrigued me. So I was like,
Yeah.
I'm watching. I'm watching. I'm watching.
Yeah.
If I
It
had free
pulls you
time, I was
in.
watching it.
Yeah.
Because I needed to know how it ended. How yeah, I mean, obviously he's obviously not in this cult now. We can say
Right.
that. But I'm like, I need to know how this progressed and like how far and how deep and like what did he do? And I needed all the things. I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah. So excellent. So we're going to leave you on that cliffhanger. And next, chapter 2. So this was chapter 1, the promise. Chapter 2, we will get into next week. And we'll dive a little more into this,
Let's see if I can give you a little teaser. How about that?
a little cult teaser, if you will.
Yeah. Let me take a look here.
We'll take a look-see. Yeah. So not to leave you guys on a awkward silence there.
Oh, okay. Um, okay. Yeah, there's how about I end with that alien thing gets even a little bit more weird
If it wasn't already.
in regards to an alien spaceship.
Excellent. Well, I mean, how else would they do the transition of the walking in? All right, so that's your cliffhanger there. We're going to talk about spaceships next week. So until then, if you are listening on Spotify or YouTube, whichever, subscribe, like, comment, share this episode, leave a review on either of them. That would be great. 5 stars or whatever stars you feel is driving you to rate this episode or this podcast. But until next time, stay positive and stay brazen.